Hello everybody, my name is Andy Garces and this is my presentation about historical events. Then I am going to talk about the Cold War. Well, first, what was the Cold War? There was an open yet restrained rivalry that developed after World War II between the United States and the Soviet Union and their respective allies. The Cold War was waged on political and economic fronts and had only limited resources to weapons. Okay, what was goals of these countries? The USA post-war goals encouraged the growth of democracy, gain access to European markets, rebuild Europe, renewed Germany, and the USSR post-war goals control Eastern Europe, encourage the growth of communists, rebuild the USSR, keep Germany divided. On the historic context, can say the Cold War was divided the world in half, because on this time ruled two strong ideologies, capitalist and communist, represented by US and Soviet Union. On March 5, 1946, in one of the most famous hours of the Cold War, former British Prime Minister Winston Churchill confirmed the Soviet policy in Iraq. By February 1945, the Soviets effectively occupied Central and Eastern Europe, while strong US and Western allies forces remained in Western Europe. With an Allied victory in Europe of the Eurozone, US President Franklin D. Roosevelt, British Prime Minister Winston Churchill, and Soviet Prime Joseph Stalin meet at Yalta, locally along the Black Sea, coast of the Crimean Peninsula, to discuss the post-war fate of defeated Germany and the rest of Europe. At the end of the Second War, US, British, and Soviet military forces divided and occupied Germany, also divided into occupation zones. Berlin was located far inside Soviet-controlled Eastern Germany. The United States, United Kingdom, and France controlled western portion of the city, while Soviet troops controlled the eastern sector. As the wartime alliance between the Western Allies and the Soviet Union ended and friendly relations turned hostile. The question of whether the Western occupation zone in Berlin would remain under Western Allies control or whether the city would be absorbed into Soviet-controlled Eastern Germany led to the first Berlin crisis of the Cold War. Other historical fact was foundation of the United Nations. It was created at the end of the World War II, an international peacekeeping organization and forum for resolving conflict between nations and make the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. That is a milestone document into the story of human rights. Drafted by representatives with different legal and cultural backgrounds from a region of the world. The declaration was proclaimed by the United Nations General Assembly in Paris on 10 December 1948 as a common standard of achievement for a peoples and nations. It set out for the first time fundamental rights to be universally protected. In the aftermath of the Second World War, the ideological local Soviet armies occupied much of Eastern Europe, and fears still high over German aggression. The nations of Western Europe searched for a new form of military alliance to counter themselves. In March 1948, the Brussels Pact was signed between France, Britain, Holland, Belgium, and Luxembourg, creating as the defense alliance called the Western Europe Union, but there was a feeling that any effective alliance would have to include the US and Canada. And the other side was Warsaw Pact, thus formally Warsaw Treaty of Friendship, Cooperation, and Mutual Alliance that established a mutual defense organization composed Germany of the Soviet Union and Albania, and then Bulgaria, East Germany, Hungary, Poland, and Romania. The treaty provided for undefined military command and for the maintenance of Soviet military units of territory of the other partisan states. During the second half of the 12th century, the two superpowers complete the superior of the developed and accumulation of the weapons. For years after US sufficiency dropped its first bomb, Soviet developed theirs, with theirs of the core of foreign policy. Both sides worked to increase that arms to result in the United States spending $60 billion on its nuclear weapon program. Okay, the Berlin Wall. This was built in the death of night of August 13, 1961. The Berlin Wall was a physical division between West Berlin and East Germany. Its purpose was to keep defense East Germans from feelings to the when the Berlin was felled on November 9, 1989. Its destruction was nearly in extension of the crash for 28 years. The Berlin Wall has been a symbol of the Cold War and the Iron Curtain between Soviet-led communists and the Democrats of the West. When it fell, the event was celebrated around the world. Okay, the Cuban Missile Crisis. The Cuban Missile Crisis of October 1962 was a direct of dangerous confrontation between the United States and the Soviet Union during the Cold War, and was the moment when the two superpowers came closer to nuclear conflict. The crisis was unique in a number of ways, featuring calculation and miscalculation, as well as direct and secret communication between the two sides. The dramatic crisis was also characterized by the fact that it was primarily played off at the White House and the Crimea level, with relative light input from the respective bureaucrats typically involved of the foreign foreign policy progress. The Cuban Missile was a dangerous confrontation between United States and Soviet Union during the Cold War, and was the moment when two super powers came close to nuclear conflict. And the last, the end. In the 1980, the unit of the Soviet Union and other countries for an increasingly frustrating war in Afghanistan. At the same time, the Soviet economy faced the constantly increasing cost of the arms race. Designed at home while the state economy faltered under the combined burden. Attempt reform at home that left the Soviet Union unwilling to remove changes to its control in Eastern Europe. During 1989 and 1990, the Berlin Wall came down, borders opened, and free election outside. Communists revived everywhere in Eastern Europe. The Soviet Union is dissolved in compound republics. And thank you very much.